So here we have a mesh model that a user came with to the Fusion forum and asked, why can I not do this or that? Or how do I do this or that? And this model is very low poly, and we can convert it directly into a solid body in Fusion, and then it looks exactly as faceted as it looks like here in Blender. And the modeling options we have are also limited because there are often errors, near tangency or no near coincidence that allows very little. So obviously, if that would be a quad model, we could import it into Fusion, convert it into T-spline, and then a solid body, and we could use all the usual tools in Fusion. But this isn't a quad model, but there are tools in Blender that can help us get there. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit the N key and turn on my screencast keys. Then hit the N key again to hide that panel, hit the Tab key to go into edit mode, and hit the A key to select everything, and go to face and triangles to quads. And by default, Blender already does many of those things correctly. And if I'm lucky, no, I'm not lucky, because as soon as I move any of these sliders, sometimes Blender just drops that selection face, not face, A for selecting everything, tries the quads and drops that selection again, and let's try that again. So apparently all software has some form of bugs somewhere. So I have these sliders that I can modify to give me a better conversion here from quads to from triangles to quads. So I'll move this one here, then I'll move that one here, and this is never going to be perfect. There are always going to be some triangles left, because this is all just based on some angles and some values here that we have relatively little control over. And I think I leave it at that. So I click some on the viewport and drops that selection. So now we have many of those faces converted from triangles into quads, but not all of them. So in order to see what still needs to be converted, of course, we can manually just look around the mesh and see that, but we can here go to the select menu and select by trait and faces by size. If I right click, if I left click, I select that tool, but if I right click, if I hadn't added it to my quick favorites, now I could add it to my quick favorites. So quick favorites is basically the Q key, and here is faces by sides. And right now that selects everything but what I want to see. And if I set this to not equal to, it selects everything that isn't 4 sides, so all the triangles that I have to still get rid of. So that's basically manual work. So now that mesh is pretty intricate with some undercuts and interior sides. And if you wanted to see everything, we can use the transparency mode. And there's also a keyboard shortcut, which is Alt-Z. And that shows us all the areas that we have to work on. And yeah, select edges. So the number key 1 is vertex selection mode, 2 is edge mode, and 3 is face selection mode. Somewhere I think you can turn all those on together, but I won't do that right now. So I'm just going to select edges, hit the X key, swipe down to dissolve these edges. Then that's why I added the specific selection to the quick menu, so I don't always have to go back to that menu. So more work to do here, more work to do here. I can hold the shift key to add to the selection by clicking. And sometimes we don't need to remove edges, we need to actually add edges. So there should be an edge here, because the goal obviously is go to a quad, and that edge flow here is interrupted. So I use the K for knife and select the 2 vertices that I want to connect. And then I select those edges and dissolve those edges that I don't want to see anymore. And I think that little grid here is also visually in the way. And think I can turn that off here somewhere. Floor. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, this takes a while. So I've done this well 2 or 3 times on this model. So because I know all these areas and the edge flow I'm looking for. It takes me about 15 minutes now, but the first time it took me about 30 minutes. And oh, make sure you dissolve these edges and not delete the edges. So yeah, there's a bit of work to do, and with that special selection mode that we added to our quick menu, and a little bit of tinkering around and using the transparency mode, we can completely clean this up, and at some point in time end up with a model like this. So there is no triangle left here, and once we're done with that, we can select this mesh and export it as an OBJ file. And I didn't scale this mesh or went into the units here and change anything there. Everything is by default. If I had the N key and go to item, these are the dimensions that the imported mesh had. Was an OBJ mesh, and I'm just going to select that mesh, go to File, Export, and export it as a OBJ. And I usually use oh, did I select something wrong? File, Export. Oh, there we go. So I usually use selection only. You can play with the scale. I leave it as is. I usually use the z-axis as the up axis, then the y minus, and what am I doing? Z-axis as the up axis and y minus it. There we go. So z as up and y minus as the forward axis. And I don't need to apply modifiers. There's a subdivision surface modifier applied to this mesh. We don't need that. Fusion does that automatically when we convert that mesh. Apply transform, I don't need that. I don't need the materials, and then I just can click on export wavefront OBJ and export that mesh. Now we go in Fusion, insert, mesh, select from my computer, and then I have to find the thing. There it is. And somehow the way I exported it was flipped upside down, but that is not a problem either. Also, the default here is millimeter, and then this measures like 10 millimeters tall. I changed this to centimeters and click OK. And if I go to my properties and look at the bounding box, and that's 100 millimeters tall, and that looks like something that's reasonably 3D printable. And then I'm going to go into Surface, create a new form, select the mesh, go to Utilities, Convert from quad mesh to T-spline, say OK. That is a smooth display. That means it converted perfectly. Click on Finish Form. There's my solid body. And now I can use all the modeling tools in Fusion in the Surface and Solid Modeling workspace. And I think that's well worth the work to get to a model that looks like this. If we want to do a quick render, you can do that as well. And I find it well worth the work in Blender to get to a model like this in Fusion.